made to you so special? Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
I'm from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn!
Were you scared of it?
Ah.
No, not at all, huh?
Nope, I'm from Brooklyn.
You're from Brooklyn, huh?
Okay, guys, we are back. Frank Stout, just a guy from Brooklyn. As you can see, it's all about Star Trek today. Huge fan of Star Trek. When I was a kid, you were either Star Wars or you were either Star Trek. But when people would ask me, which one do you like? For me, it was always like...
Both is good.
Now, I'm not a Trekkie. I've never been to a convention. I haven't seen every single episode of every single show.
Having received all your letters over the years, and I've spoken to many of you, and some of you have traveled, hundreds of miles to be here, I'd just like to say, get a life, will you, people? I mean, for crying out loud, it's just a TV show. I mean, how old are you people? What have you done with yourselves? You must be almost 30. Have you ever kissed a girl?
I actually haven't seen a lot of the new shows, Picard, Discovery, etc. But I did love the shows back in the day and the movies. Some random trivia. If you didn't know, Michael Myers, the famous killer in the Halloween franchise, his mask was actually just a William Shatner mask, and they spray painted it white. And now it's another reason for William Shatner to be famous. As always, I got to give you my 2 rules before I do any ranking. Rule number 1, spoilers. Everything I'm about to mention is really, really old. So hard spoiler warning. If you haven't seen any of these, maybe you shouldn't be watching this ranking. Rule number 2, as always, I got to say this. This is a favorites list, not a best list. So guys, we are on red alert because these next 3 movies that I'm about to kick things off with are so freaking bad in my opinion. You need to set your phasers on the highest level because if it was up to me, I would disintegrate these motherfuckers out of existence. Kicking things off at number 17 is Star Trek Insurrection. To me, this is one of the most forgettable movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It's one thing to be a bad movie. It's one thing to be a movie that takes risks and fails. It's one thing for a movie to be different from all the other movies. But just to be completely forgettable is like the worst thing that you could be. I've seen this movie about 3 or 4 times. I can't remember a damn thing about it. And that's just sad. Coming in at number 16 is Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, this was the direct sequel to the reboot. It's basically like a crappy alternate reality version of The Wrath of Khan.
Who the hell are you?
A remnant of a time long past. Genetically engineered to be superior so as to lead others to peace in a world at war.
My name is Khan.
It really fails in almost every way. I don't know what they were thinking with Benedict Cumberbatch to play Khan. All of a sudden, Khan's blood can bring people back from the dead. I hate watching it. It's one of the ones that I usually just completely skip. Coming in at number 15 is Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. I don't know what these people were thinking to think that anybody would want to go into a theater to see 3 old-ass men sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat.
Row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
All of a sudden, the universe has a barrier. This pretty much is like a plot hole for the entire Trek universe. The whole point of Trek is that you can just venture out and go farther and farther and farther. Especially when you get into shows like Deep Space Nine, where they have the Gamma Quadrant, Voyager, where they go so far that they're totally lost and stranded out there and trying to make their way back. And then, of course, they're going there to find God because they think God is there. I got to give a huge Captain Picard facepalm for that shit. Really, it's that stupid. The only thing good that I can think of this entire movie is the one little scene where like Kirk, with the ultimate sarcasm, asking God why he would need a starship.
Make use of this starship.
It will be your chariot.
Excuse me.
It will carry my power to every corner of creation.
Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question. What does God need with a starship?
Coming in at number 14 is Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Bones is a thing out there.
Why is any object we don't understand always called a thing?
A lot of people will skip it. A lot of people don't think it's a good movie. It's different. It's a more brainy, Trekky kind of movie. The problem was when it first came out, they were trying to go against Star Wars. And they put in a lot of money into the special effects. So the movie does look very good with its special effects. Unfortunately, the story was just a little too slow, lacking of any type of action. But I do think it's an underrated story.
V-G-E-R. Feature. V-O-Y-A-G-E-R. Voyager. Voyager 6. NASA.
Coming in at number 13 is Star Trek Nemesis. You have a young Tom Hardy playing a clone of Captain Picard.
You're not human. And I'm not quite human. So what am I? My life is meaningless as long as you're still alive. What am I while you exist? A shadow? An echo?
He's been raised by these weird Romulans and they decide to attack, and it's a very weird kind of entry, but it does have some very good space battles with the two Picards basically going at each other. Coming in at number 12 is Star Trek Beyond, which is the third of the reboot timeline, or the Kelvin timeline as the Trekkies know it to be. It's a decent entry for the Kelvin timeline. It's just nothing really special. It does, have some stuff that like harkens back to the original 2009 movie.
Well, at least I won't die alone. Well, that's just typical.
In general, most people were disappointed with it, but kind of fun. Coming in at number 11 is Star Trek The Original Series. I didn't get to see this show when it first came out because I'm just not that fucking old. But I did get to see reruns as a child growing up, and they were on every single day. I don't remember what time of day, but they were on all the time. I just like to see like Kirk fighting aliens and stuff like that. Captain James T. Kirk, legend, and probably the largest poonhound in the entire galaxy.
You've seen more ass than a rental car, my friend.
Well, I've been in space all this time, and I haven't had one woman yet. You even take the ugly ones, Captain.
He literally just got with every chick from every planet that he ever encountered. And the legend just continues to grow with him. It continued on through the movies. Even the reboot had like a scene with him messing around with a green chick. Movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, paying homage to Captain Kirk with having Quill mix it up with a purple alien chick who I gotta say was kind of hot. Star Trek was known as like wagon train in space at the time, and they were going for like a Western in space. And so Kirk was the original cowboy, and he was a badass. Coming in at number 10 is Star Trek Voyager. Now, after Deep Space Nine had ended, and it ended in such a large fashion, they decided to go back to basics, have just one ship out deep in like the ass end of space so far that they can't make it back, and the whole show was them trying to make it back to Earth. I thought it was kind of a dull affair at first, but then something changed at one point. They decided to introduce the Borg and had the Borg come in as an enemy. And for a while, even the Borg became allies with them. It made it really just like a fun, must-see TV kind of situation. Enter 7 of 9, probably one of the most popular characters in Trek lore. I wonder why. Coming in at number 9 is Star Trek Generations. Now, this was a very, very big deal when it first came out because it was finally going to show you the two big captains, Kirk and Picard, sharing the screen, going on an adventure together. I would say Kirk played just too small a role, but it really was special. But at the same time, I also feel that this movie probably hasn't aged well compared to some of the others, but still a very, very fun movie.
Something new from Focus 3? Ooh. Well, it looks like he hates it.
Yes, that is it. I hate this.
Oh, yes. I hate this. It is revolting.
More?
Please.
Coming in at number 8 is Star Trek First Contact. Now, this was got, of course,
time travel.
The Next Generation's cast up against the Borg. Kind of like a direct completion of the storyline from the series where they were constantly going up against the Borg. And it also introduces a great villain in the Borg Queen. Gives you that prequel story to how we were able to venture out into space and discover other life. And it shows you that moment.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
Coming in at number 7 is Star Trek The Next Generation, the series. The original series had ended and it was just basically just going on in reruns and reruns and reruns. So this definitely was a breath of fresh air. It was literally for a new generation of people. And it continued a lot of the storylines from the original series. It made Klingons our allies to the Federation, so they weren't like the enemy anymore. And yet there was always politics between the Klingons. You had the Borg, you had Q, which is always fun. I think Data was the most interesting character because he was an android who wanted so desperately to be human, and yet he didn't have any emotion. So it was like a journey that you go along with him. Coming in at number 6 is Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
Don't trust them. They are dying. Let them die.
It kind of gives you almost like a whodunit kind of mystery thing to it. It kind of bridges that gap between the original series and The Next Generation in regards to the Klingons and how Klingons went from being like this ruthless warrior enemy to this proud warrior race who now is working with the Federation and all the crazy stuff that they go through. And this shows some really, really good stuff between like Kirk, because he had lost his son to the Klingons, so he had that bitter wanting revenge. He hated them. Coming in at number 5 is Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. This was a fantastic direct sequel to The Wrath of Khan, and it's just something about seeing Kirk go straight renegade against the Federation, against everything and everyone, and just risk everything and sacrifice everything to save Spock. And it was just awesome in every way. It also had a lot of nice comedy thrown in, and it also got a lot of the other characters throw in a little extra stuff, Sulu, Uhura, everybody got a little moment to shine, and I felt it really just made the movie just that much better. Coming in at number 4 is Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
Time travel!
One of the best time travel movies I've ever seen. I don't know who thought of making this movie a comedy, almost parody of Star Trek.
Do you mind stopping that damn noise?
And I say screw you! And I hope you're blue too. We're all bloody wetland.
To have them go back in time and be like that fish out of water comedy, it just was so great and special. They consider parts 2, 3, and 4 to be like a trilogy within itself, and it really is.
Watch where you're going, you dumbass! Well, a double dumbass on you!
Coming in at number 3 is the Star Trek 2009 reboot, where they start the Kelvin timeline. It's just completely open that anything can happen because it's a new timeline, and little differences, little changes have been made, and you have like the introduction of old Spock Prime, as he's known as, to help out this crew. One of the things I love is that J.J. Abrams, he used Star Wars as a template for making this movie. So it's a Star Trek reboot in the vein of Star Wars, and you can kind of see it like step by step, go through those beats, and it just totally works.
I'm impressed. For a moment there, I thought you were just a dumb hick who only has sex with farm animals.
Well, not only.
Coming in at number 2 is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. This is my favorite Star Trek television series, and just on a whole other level from anything else that's Trek. The decision to no longer follow just one ship and instead follow this small station on like the outermost area of space. The reason why it's so important is because it has a wormhole which can lead you even farther out, which just makes it so interesting. It gives you an even bigger, badder villain with the Dominion. At one point, Klingons become our enemy again, and we go through some rough stuff with them. One of the most fun episodes is an episode called Trials and Tribulations, where they use like that Forrest Gump tech that they use for the Forrest Gump movie, where you could put current people in like old footage. They use an old episode of Star Trek, the original series, which involved tribbles, which are like these cute little furry creatures. And they put the Deep Space Nine crew on the Enterprise, and you literally got to see them interacting with Kirk and Spock. What do you want? Not now, not now. Later, I'll pet you later. Go. Jesus. And my number 1 final Star Trek entry in this ranking is Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. It is something that Star Trek has tried to recreate. It tried to one-up it. They've tried to do better, and they just can't do it. It's just that great. It's Kirk versus Khan. If I were to rank space battles, it would be in the top 2 between Return of the Jedi and this. 2 guys going at each other, cleverly outmaneuvering with strategy. What Ricardo Montalban did as Khan, he is one of the most ruthless, nastiest, over-the-top performance was just so freaking awesome.
Marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive. Buried alive.
You know, I watched this movie very young, for the first time. Khan takes these little ear slug creature things, and he puts them on 2 prisoners, and they burrow into their ears and into their brains. Oh, I had nightmares about these things. I don't know if anybody are even fans of Star Trek anymore. For those fans, listen, I'm with you. I love these movies. So guys, be on the lookout, because I'm always coming out with some more content. And one to beam up. I gotta say, no peace this time. Live long and prosper.
See my face in lights, on my name on marquees found down on Broadway. Even if it ain't all it seems, I got a pocket full of dreams, baby. I'm from New York.